I had a dream. It wasn't quite on the level of Martin Luther King, but it was still my dream. And I just had this part of the garden here. It's just on the side of the house where it was just pure concrete. The wall was entirely bare, and it was kind of sad to see this area of the place just be entirely concrete. When the place is really hot, it just like radiates off heat. And I just had a dream that this could potentially become a nice little concrete garden with the right set of moves. And if I could just get it to that point, I could have, instead of just this naked wall of concrete, I could potentially have a wall not just of concrete but of rich green bearing fruit. I'm going to show you all in this video how you can transform any concrete areas that you have in your home into a place like this where you can come out and just enjoy nature, even if you have only concrete in your yard. Let's get straight into it. Hello everyone, thank you all so much for joining in. This is Dylan from the Trinidad Gardeners channel, and I'm so happy that you made it for this video. I'm not going to be keeping you very long, but I do want to show you, and this is to really encourage any of you that live in a concrete jungle to how the process would be for you to change that just barren wasteland of no life into an area of your garden that could be one of your favorite areas that'll be bursting with life, that'll be bursting with fruit, that'll have so much just energy and just make you so happy to come out and just see the fruit. Even if you don't plan to really eat very much, even if food is not really a big issue for you, just having that part of your garden where you have life growing, that's going to make you really happy. And of course, the fruit is an added bonus that is good for you to share with your family and of course with your friends. So let's get straight into it. Here I have 5 variety tomatoes, all grown from seed. The entire process is on my TikTok, where I started it from seed in January of this year, and then the entire process of potting that seedling into, then putting it into this raised bed here. And what I have here is directly on top of the concrete that I showed you all. I put just some blocks, some foundation blocks, and these foundation blocks are 10 by 4, 10 by 4, oh, sorry, 14 by 4, and they're nothing special. You don't have to have foundation blocks that are like this once you get something to keep in the dirt. And that's the reason why I went with foundation blocks, because 1, they're really cheap. 2, I had them available here because we had some leftover from some construction work that we did years ago. And well, I don't know if it's number 3 or number 4, but they last forever. You're not going to destroy a foundation block. That's the difference between that and wood. Wood does go bad after some time, after some years, especially with watering, unless you get really good wood, and then that costs a lot of money. Whereas with the foundation blocks, that's forever. And one of these blocks, I got them for, I think, like $9-10 TT, right? Like one US 20 cents or something like that. So very cheap. Now, very important is that when you put your foundation blocks, you want to give the space between the foundation block and the wall at least foot to 2 feet away from the wall. That's going to give you a nice bit of space to then fill in with soil. So let's talk a bit about the soil. In terms of soil, especially for tomatoes, you're going to want something that's rich in organic matter. And people ask all the time, how do you know you have good soil? And it's really something that you can smell, right? If you smell your soil and it smells like a forest floor, you're smelling like you're somewhere in the woods, that's really what you're going for. And beyond that, the texture is important. So I'm just going to dig down there, right? And I'm going to get some and bring that closer for you all. Look at this, all right? Any soil that you can hold it together like that. And look at that. You see how it clumps together, but then it crumbles apart. A soil that can clump together, you see that, how it stays together, but then it can crumble apart. Any soil that can do that is a soil that's going to be able to retain moisture. That's what the clumping is about. But then the crumbling is the drainage. And that's a perfect mixture. That's really what you're looking for in your soil. If you're able to have that, and how you get that is you put organic matter, because organic matter is really the building block of good soil. That's how the forest works, by leaves decaying, twigs and whatnot breaking down. And then that is what creates what we call compost. And compost is really what I have inside here. And it's different types of compost. It's my own green waste compost that I make from kitchen scraps. It's the animal manure, which is another type of compost that's broken down from animal waste. And it's also wood compost that's broken down from dried old trees that rot down and it creates a texture and just a composition that's perfect for your plants. Soil that's rich in organic matter is also going to be able to retain moisture, which is very important now in the dry season where watering is a big issue for a lot of these plants that aren't able to survive the kind of heat that the sun is pushing and the dryness that's in the atmosphere. In addition to that, the microorganisms are happy to live somewhere where you have a lot of organic matter. And microorganisms in an organic matter, in an organic garden, is the most important thing because we don't give our plants nutrition in an organic garden. We give our plants the right environment whereby the microorganisms can then take care of our plants, take care of the nutrition, take care of securing our plants. That's all up to the microorganisms. Now, in terms of sunlight, we're not in a container where we could just move it about. So I just had to work with what type of sunlight I get here. And this will not depend on me at all or the garden. It depends on just the location of this wall and area to where the sun passes. And it just so happens that this area here gets between 7 to 9 hours of sunlight depending on the time of the year. And that means that it's perfect for growing anything that loves sun. Tomatoes, and of course we love tomatoes here on the channel, and of course I know you all like tomatoes and we like to see tomatoes, so it was just a perfect choice. I have grown other things here. I have grown cucumbers, I've grown peppers, I have grown I think I did like some greens at some point, like I think you all might see a video with me with some pak choy and also some spinach bhaji going up on like a trellis. So I've grown other things here, but I think that for me I really just wanted the whole wall to be full of green like how you see here. So with the cucumbers I got that, but even with the choy bhaji and whatnot, it wasn't as much green as I wanted. It wasn't as much life, and the tomatoes gave me that, where right now it's just the fruit is coming on. It's just that perfect sweet spot where you will see the plant growing but also putting on fruit, because sometimes you get the plant growing alone with no fruit, or you get the plant fruiting but not much growth and the plant is starting to die back a little bit as the fruit comes on. But right now we're in that sweet spot where you get the best of both worlds. The plant is still growing. Every day I'm seeing new branches, new stems. I can't keep up with the pruning because I feel like every week it's just a lot more to prune. I've pruned up so much and the growth just comes back because it's just so vibrant, but also it's getting fruit. And there's more blooms every day, and the blooms are being pollinated because you'll see swarming around me and I may be dodging them. You'll see like jep and bees and little buzzers, and you know, it's kind of scary sometimes, but they're very important, and I'm glad that they're here. It's just that I'm probably not the one supposed to be here. They want to have the entire stage for themselves. But, you know, we have to work with what we have. So these tomatoes here, the varieties that I have the Moneymaker tomato. That's on this side here. I have, for the first time growing, I've grown this before, this Moneymaker tomato. You all saw it in my video on curly top virus. That was the tomato that got curly top virus. This one didn't get it. Fingers crossed that I won't ever get it, but we are getting some fruit. So the thing about the curly top virus is that it doesn't affect the fruit itself. So once the fruit is on the tree, you're out. You know, the curly top virus is not going to bother you. It will bother the plant, but it won't bother the fruit. So the fruit will still ripen, will still be fine, but the plant will not just produce any more after because it has gotten sick. Beyond the Moneymaker, I have behind me here, and I'll probably have to cut so that you all can see. I have one that I'm growing for the very first time, and this one is called the Rio Grande tomato. And first time growing it, I'm very excited to see what it ends up doing. We have some tomatoes on the vine, and I'm just waiting for it to get ripe and to taste it because you know, I'm always excited to try new tomatoes, see if I like it, see if I don't like it. On this side here, right behind me, I have a cherry tomato, and this one is kind of ambiguous, as in I'm not sure what they mean by it, but the seed packet said a small cherry tomato. So I have cherry tomato and I have small cherry tomato, and I'll bring you all in so you can see the difference between the cherry tomato and the small cherry tomato. But I have two small cherry tomatoes and a cherry tomato here. I also have some in containers here and about, but today we're talking just about this raised bed area here. So choice of your vegetable that you're growing into your raised bed is going to help you with transforming that area of concrete into a place of green. The good thing about these tomatoes here is that these are indeterminate variety tomatoes. Apart from the Moneymaker, I don't think the Moneymaker is an indeterminate variety. I don't think the Rio Grande is an indeterminate variety, but the cherry tomatoes are definitely indeterminate, which is perfect for what I'm trying to accomplish here. Now, if you're not sure what I mean by indeterminate or determinate, determinate tomato is a tomato that will grow until a certain height, whether that is 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, sometimes 6 feet if you're very lucky. Some hybrids do go to 6 feet, but they stop. That's important. They grow to a certain height and they stop. Just like trees will grow to a height and stop, they don't discontinue growing forever. In general, that's what a determinate variety. That's what they mean by determinate. It's determined at a certain point to stop growing. Doesn't mean the plant dies. It just means it doesn't go any further than that. And it will put on fruit with the amount of branches that it has. Remember, it grew to a specific spot and it stopped. And that is a determinate variety tomato. A cherry tomato, like in this case here, this cherry tomato, not all cherries necessarily, but this cherry tomato and this small cherry tomato, which are two different varieties, they will grow and keep on growing until the point of dying. And that's what an indeterminate variety is about. Indeterminate means the height is not determined. It will keep on growing for as much space and as much energy as it has, and it will just keep on growing. It'll put on more branches, and they can grow really, really long, or they can grow really, really bushy, depending on how you prune your tomato. Generally, if you want the plant to grow really, really long, you take off all the side growth and you just let one vine. That's called single stemming. You let it go all the way up, and that's what professional growers will do. For instance, in greenhouses, they will have the plants planted way down, and then they'll probably have like a 10-foot sort of vine, not vine, but like an actual line going up that'll attach to like some purlin, like if you know what purlin is, like a kind of lighter iron to the ceiling of the greenhouse, and then they will take out all the side growth and they'll have one vine of tomato going all the way up. Looks really, really cool if you see greenhouses that do that, and they of course are selling, so they like to have their thing really, really neat. We are a bit more wild here in the home garden, so I'm just letting these plants do their thing and just get really, really bushy. Right now we're in the dry season, and that's important. Depending on the time of the year, you can do different things in your garden. For instance, right now in the dry season, I can afford to have the plant be so thick and full of just bush because it's so dry that the chances of some of these airborne bacteria or fungi forming on the leaves and causing problems, such things as powdery white mildew. I never get that right. Powdery white mildew. Say that 10 times fast. Powdery white mildew. Powdery white. Well, I can't. And that, and as well as some other just airborne viruses that pass around, and they do get transferred because of moisture. Now, in the rainy season, I wouldn't be so careless as to have all of these branches here, because when you have all of this interlapping of leaves and branches, then moisture gets trapped, and if rain is falling, then there's a lot of moisture, and then that moisture can't escape. If the leaves are really, really moist, then you're going to have issues with some of these viruses on the leaves, and then that can affect your plant. So I would be pruning off these branches in the rainy season in Trinidad. But because we're in the dry season, I could wet these plants now, and I know they're going to be bone dry by this afternoon because the sun is so hot. So of course the hot sun is not the best thing in the world, but it's also not the worst thing in the world, because it does allow you to grow your plants a bit more bushy, especially tomatoes, and not have some of the issues that we generally experience with tomatoes in the rainy season, and that contributes to tomatoes going up in price and being, of course, a bit more scarce. As far as fertilizing these tomatoes, everything I showed you when making the soil mix is generally okay with the tomatoes. What I'll do is I will sometimes top dress with a bit more cow manure and some compost, but every once in a while I will come in with this. I try to do it once a month, sometimes even once every 5-6 weeks, and I'll just come in here with some worm tea that I have, and I will do this. I try not to do it too late in the afternoon, so even in dry season I wouldn't want to do this after like 6 p.m. right? I will just come in here, and on the leaves, right, you can just put this straight into your soil, but this is worm tea, right? And worm tea is well, I have a video on the channel. You can just search the Trinidad Garden. No, actually no, I'll put up a link over here. Worm tea is a way to boost the microbial life in your garden, and in an organic garden where we depend on the microorganisms to supply our plants, not just with fertilization for energy and to grow, but also with protection by keeping them strong so that pests can't pick up on any stress signals from the plants. This worm tea here is really a good way to go. So check out the video, see how you can make your own worm tea right at home, so you don't have to spend any money for it, and see how you can use it in your garden. You don't have to use something like this. I just happened to, because it was really not expensive at all to get this, and just being able to spray it, it's just really there's a benefit for me, because that foliar spray the plants do have the ability to pick up nutrition through the leaves. That's why foliar spray is a thing. And in an organic garden, you can do foliar spraying as well. It's not just the chemical world that can do foliar spraying, because this this mix here is just really, really good for your plants. And tomatoes really, really like that mix of worm castings and the molasses, and it just really is good for your plants. And there you go. I'm so glad you stuck around for this one. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, but more importantly, I hope that you've learned something from this video. I hope that you've seen if there is a part of your backyard or front yard, side of your house, that is just a barren wasteland of no life, that you can transform that and have your own little personal jungle right in that spot that was just nothing but concrete. You could have green, red, yellow, whatever colors that you want to have in that spot, you can have it, and you can have that garden space there where there was nothing before. You can make that into something really cool and really new and really perfect for you, and to make you happy, and that you could share and spend more time with yourself, with your friends, and with your family. Now remember that if you do end up doing something like this, please tag us on any of the platforms that we're on: Instagram, TikTok, on Facebook, and you can of course follow us on any of those platforms. Remember that you can, feel free to share what's happening in your garden, because that's such a big motivation for us here on the channel. We really look forward to see what's happening in your garden, your harvests, your triumphs, your fails, everything. We're just really happy to share and have this community with you all. Remember, as always, this has been Dylan from the Trinidad Gardener channel, reminding you to get up and get growing. Take care.